So again, welcome. I'm excited that everyone is here today. So we have the poll results up on the screen. Feel free to give those a look. So today's a little different than your average vendor webinar because I'm not the only one talking. So I'm joined today by Nathan Shannon, who runs the Smart Energy Consumer Collaborative. Nathan, do you want to say a quick hello?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks, Courtney, and happy to be here. So my name is Nathan Shannon. I'm with the Smart Energy Consumer Collaborative. We are a nonprofit that's been around about 15 years, and our whole goal and job is to listen to energy consumers and create research and resources for those of us in the energy world to help us better understand what consumers want from their energy provider. And we deliver that back to all of you in the industry. So we just put together a new survey on consumer understanding around demand response. And so that's going to be part of the framework of our discussion for the next hour. And again, Courtney, thank you for the invite for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. So here's the idea behind today. Nathan and I are two sides of the same question. So his team measures what consumers actually want, and my team at BlastPoint help utilities act on it. And so what neither one of us does is we don't run your DSM programs. You know your customers, your territory, your regulators, your budget constraints. You know those way better than any slide that we could ever put up. So we're not here to tell you how to do your job. What we can do is hand you two useful things. Nathan's going to show you what almost 2,100 of your customers just said out loud. And I'm going to walk you through how you find those exact customers inside the territory you already have. So that's the deal for the next hour. You're the one who knows your utility. We're just bringing the map. Now, so first, I'm going to take you into one utility's data live to find the customers who are ready to say yes. Then we're going to talk about the 3 habits that get in the way at most utilities. And to make this operational, Nathan's going to run you through what the consumers told the SECC. And then finally, we're going to leave you with one thing to do tomorrow. And then on a final note, we'll save time at the end for your questions. Now, 2 quick housekeeping items before we start. Drop your questions in the Q&A panel at any time. We don't have to wait until the end, and we'll get to as many of those as we can. So we're also recording, so you'll also have this in your inbox tomorrow. So with that, we're going to get into it. So here's the number that started this whole conversation between Nathan and me. 28% of consumers say that they're open to demand response. Only 6 to 7% are actually enrolled. So just sit with that for a second. The willingness is obviously there. 4 times more people are open to it, but they're not signed up. The gap, that space between yes and enrolled, that's the megawatts available to go get. And in a year where everyone in this room is staring down data center load and electrification efforts, those happen to be the cheapest megawatts you'll find anywhere. And then let me walk you through what I mean when I say the cheapest. And I mean cheapest literally. So look at that spread. Megawatts from energy efficiency results come in at around $22 a megawatt hour. And that's a number from the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economies number. Demand response sits right next to it, let's call it $25, and it moves around by territory. New gas generation, that's $45 to $108 per Lazard. So demand side resources are 2 to 5 times cheaper than building new supply. Now, here's the thing, you guys already know this. You've made this exact argument to your own leadership. The economics aren't the hard part, the economics are a slam dunk. Now, the hard part is conversion. You can't capture a cheap megawatt from a customer you've never reached, which is exactly where Nathan's data comes in. And so, Nathan, here's where I'm going to kick it over to you.
Thanks, Courtney. So this is the part where we get to hear a little bit directly from the customer. So everything I'm going to show you comes straight from consumers, the 2,100 consumers that participated in this survey. We didn't spin it or dress it up. We just asked the questions and listened to the results, and that's what we're here to present you today. And also, to be honest, a few of these numbers did surprise us. So you'll see some in here, especially towards the end of my presentation, that are a little surprising on what you would think on the results back. So before I jump into the results, let's talk a bit about the methodology. This is our Smart Energy Snapshot series of surveys. So for these are shorter form surveys, usually only about 5 to 8 questions. This one in particular was just on consumer understanding of demand response. We fielded it in early March of this year to just under 2,100 US adults, and it's nationally representative with a margin of error under 3 points. And everyone who participated in this study was an energy decision maker within their home. So we asked 5 questions, all pointed at one thing. How do consumers actually feel about demand response? And what do they need before they'll say yes to participating? Now let's take a look at what came back from those survey results. So starting with the headline that Courtney mentioned, 28% are either enrolled or highly interested, and only 6 to 7% are actually enrolled. So the gap that Courtney referred to is very clear from this data. We are still seeing that the interest rate has continued to rise over the last few years of us asking these questions, but that enrollment rate has stayed stagnant. But here's what I really want you to take home. We asked about demand response in 2 separate ways. The first way was you take action. You get the notification, you get to shift your usage, and that's what we're calling behavioral, and 66% are open to that way. And then the second way, your provider takes action. This is where the utility adjusts your thermostat automatically and you keep the override option. So we're calling this direct load control, and 53% are open to that. But this could be a little bit confusing because the catch is these are not the same people. The behavioral pool is bigger and it overlaps with the direct load control pool, but doesn't equal it. So if you market both programs with the same message to the same list, you're just talking past a lot of customers. So hold on to that nugget of information because Courtney is going to show you exactly what to do about it later in the discussion. So the next question genuinely made me smile when it came back. We asked which appliances would you let your provider adjust during a peak event? Let's look what they said. Dishwasher came in at 80%, cooling came in at 77%, water heating and laundry 75%, heating and lighting 74%, and smart plug 71%. So there's not a single appliance on this list that's below 70%. The flex is in every room in this house, of consumer's house. So the next time a consumer tells you that they just won't participate, the data doesn't back it up. The willingness is everywhere when we're looking at all these different appliances. The real question is, and this is Courtney's main focus, is whether you're asking the right customer for the right appliance. Okay, so now let's get into the stuff that could change how you do your next marketing campaign. We asked before you join, what do you need to know about the demand response program? Top of the list, what will I actually save, coming in at 62%? Can I opt out of any event? 57%. How often and how long do these events last? 52%. Which of my appliances are opted into these events? 50%. And how easy is it to leave? Also 50%. Now let's take a look at the very bottom, grid impact. How your participation helps the community. 35% answered as this is an important attribute to them, which is dead last. And I say this gently because I know exactly why we do it. Grid impact and sustainability and doing your part is a lot of what utility marketing leads with. And it's very well intentioned and it definitely matters, but it's just the thing consumers are not looking for as the headline reason to join. They want to hear about their bill and control first. It's not to say that grid impact isn't important and consumers don't care about it, because we have seen an uptick in this percentage from surveys in the previous 5 years. It's just not what you grab their attention with. That comfort, control, and cost is what you grab their attention with. So there's another question that goes against how many demand response programs are marketed. We asked, if you got a financial benefit, how would you like to receive it? Credit on your bill came in at 49%. A gift card came in at 44%. So either cash or cash equivalent is more than 90% of what people want as far as a financial incentive. And then when we look at equipment incentives, on a rebate on a device came in dead last at 7%. And here's why that matters so much. A huge share of utility energy efficiency and demand response programs are built around equipment. You get a free thermostat, you get a rebate on a heat pump or a water heater, and that form of compensation is what consumers are saying they want the least, by about a 7-to-1 margin. So I want to be fair here. I'm not saying equipment programs are wrong. There are many good reasons for utilities running equipment programs. I'm saying that if it's your lead offer, if it's your headline that you're trying to grab their attention with, the data says that you are leading with your weakest card. So the last one from me, how do people want to hear about you during a program or during an event? 60% want to be notified at each event, and 54% of those want to hear before and after that event. So not just a heads up, they want a heads up and a thank you with their results. And only 7% are fine with hearing from you after an event, only after an event. So the quiet lesson in that number is the set it and forget it, the thing we often sell as the customer convenience of an automatic program. That's actually more of a utility convenience, and it's not what consumers are asking for this type of program. The notification's not overheard. It's a start of that relationship. It builds that customer journey with between the utility and the consumer. So they're looking for those notifications before and after, and also with the results of how that event went. And Courtney is going to come right back to that one too. So she'll circle back to some more info on that. And so wrapping this up on the SECC side of things, 4 things. One, they will participate. 20% say they will willing to participate right now. 2, they've got flexibility in which appliance in every room, so nothing under 70%. 3, they want bill credits, not rebates. And then 4, they want to hear from you before and after the event. So this is what customers told us, which is what SECC's job is, to listen to consumers is one of our main mission. So now I'll turn it over to you, Courtney, to find out how these customers how to find these customers who are actually able to participate.
Thanks, Nathan. And that handoff is exactly the right place to pick up, because here's the trap with great national data. It's true, it's compelling, and it also can leave you stuck. You walk away going, great, 28% are interested, but which 28%? And where are they? And specifically, where are they in my territory? You can't send an email to a percentage. So for the next stretch, I want to make this real concrete. We're going to take Nathan's national pattern and go actually find these people inside a couple utilities' real customer book. So, and here's the tension that lives between Nathan's work and yours. The national signal is real, but at some point, somebody at your utility has to turn that signal into a list with actual names on it. Nobody on your team gets paid to own a national percentage. They get paid to hit enrollment targets in your service territory, which means the questions you're really asking aren't about percentages. They're about the people. So which one of my customers do I target? Where do they live in my territory? What channel do they respond to? So again, let's take Nathan's national pattern and go actually answer those inside one real utilities residential territory. So I'm going to do a short walkthrough and talk you through it while it plays. So give me just a second to get this going. So what you're seeing here is one utility's residential book inside the BlastPoint platform. So we're going to build a DSM target segment from scratch, and I want you to keep an eye on the audience count at the bottom of the screen. We're going to start at the full book, about 546,000 customers. If you mailed all of them, you'd burn too much budget on a campaign that mostly converts the people that would have enrolled anyway. Now we're going to start filtering. We're targeting a green affinity score of 7 or higher. These are the customers whose own attitudes say they lean towards participating. Now we're adding additional practical filters, owners in single-family homes. These are the people who can authorize a smart thermostat install and where controllable HVAC and dishwasher load lives. From 500,000, we land at 68,769. That's a real targeting plan, not a blast list. Now here's the part I love. The platform doesn't stop at the segment. It tells you how to reach them. So let's look over this group's channel preferences. This is an older, more traditional channel mix, so email and direct mail will convert better than a TikTok push here. Now BlastPoint also has the ability to build propensity models for who's likely to adopt. That's what you're seeing now in another utilities residential book. Starting with the full territory, we're at 1.4 million people. Now we're going to layer in a propensity model to get our targeted list. For this customer segment, we want an energy efficiency program propensity of 7 or higher. So this is about 70,500 customers. Now, our propensity models are built on your data and for your customer territory. They help sharpen your targeting tools even further. And so now we're going to take a look at this segment's social channel and social media preferences so that we know how to go get these conversions. So on this mix, you're going to see stuff like SiriusXM, Pandora, Spotify, and streaming services. Their social mix is Instagram, Pinterest, and Reddit. It's a completely different audience profile here. So these are two different DSM target groups and methods, two completely different customer profiles. These are examples of yes from Nathan's survey with two different ways to actually go get it. So now the second you can name those customers, the very next question every leader in this room asks is the money question. Okay, Courtney, what's that worth? If I go chase those customers, what do I actually get back in megawatts and dollars? So you just saw who to target. Let me show you now what it returns. So we built a tool exactly for this question, and I'm going to give you guys the first look of it today. It's called DemandPoint, and then let me walk you through this. So this is DemandPoint. The first part is a quick estimate. You drag sliders about your territory and watch the avoided generation capex for your numbers change accordingly. For this example, it climbs past $200 million. That represents the power plants you don't build. That's the back of the envelope math. Now the real work is the benchmark below it, and here's how that works. So for this example, we dropped in 3 utilities. For each one, it reads the federal report every utility files and measures the following: rising demand and rates, and how much of their efficiency value is still untapped. It multiplies those together, so a utility only ranks high if it has both, then it stacks that against its true peers. Then it turns that untapped slice into $1. Now together, these three are leaving about $39 million a year on the table. And it shows you the exact households behind that number, so you know who to go after first. So you've seen what customers want, and you've seen how to find them. We've also taken a stab at how much that could be worth. So why doesn't this just happen everywhere already? And honestly, it's not a technology problem. It comes down to 3 habits. And I want to be careful here because I'm not standing on a soapbox. Every utility I've ever worked with does at least one of these, and they do it for completely understandable reasons. But naming them out loud is the first step to actually fixing them. Nathan's going to jump in on these 2 because the survey speaks to all 3 of these. So habit 1, and here's what it looks like from the customer's point of view. So the customer signs up for time of use rates. A few months later, the smart thermostat team finds them in the system and recruits them for a direct load control program. Next year, the EV team adds them to a charging incentive. On your dashboards, that's 3 enrollments for them, and it's 1 electricity bill and a growing pile of program emails they half remember signing up for. The org grew in silos because that's how programs get funded. None of that is anyone's fault. But here's the reframe. Your generation side has thought holistically in portfolios for 40 years plus. They have a stack of dispatchable resources, ranked, layered, and optimized as a whole. Nobody on the supply side plans 1 power plant at a time and then ignores the rest. Your demand side deserves the same discipline. All the different layers, all the different levers, operational, forecast, enrollment, and engagement, these all should be coordinated as 1 portfolio, not 4 programs that never compare notes with each other. And so Nathan, you saw this in the data, right?
Yeah, we did. We when we ask consumers about this, they don't really think of programs in the names and the terminology that we in the energy industry think of. Many of them haven't heard of a time of use tariff or demand response or peak time or anything like that. So they're thinking of one thing: is this going to save me money on my bill, and will my home still be comfortable? So that's kind of the through line across every program that you run. And since we're talking about utilities seeing their organization, their portfolio, this is always a portfolio to them. Consumers are also thinking of it that way. So that holistic approach is really important to them as well.
Thank you. And so now talking about habit 2, This one shows up in your acquisition cost before you notice it anywhere else. So BlastPoint has measured customer acquisition cost, and it typically runs 50 to 70% higher than it needs to be at utilities that are just doing spray and pray marketing. And when I dig into why, it almost always traces back to the same thing. The customer data that could tell a behavioral DR customer from a direct load control customer from someone who will never participate, that information never makes it out of the data warehouse. So the same message just goes to everyone. And then I want to call back to what Nathan showed us. The pitch that converts leads with bill savings override and event timing, not the equipment. When you send a generic blast, you're not just burning budget, even though you are. Your biggest cost is your credibility. When someone who's never heard of you hands over the keys to their thermostat, gets a DLC pitch, you don't just lose that enrollment, you lose them in your next email. And Nathan, your priority ranking is really the fix here.
Yeah, exactly. The survey respondents gave us literally a complete lead in, basically a script of what they want to see, that bill savings, then control, then the timing. So it's not something you have to guess at, not something you have to waste marketing dollars on. So if you just keep it that simple and straightforward, that seems to resonate the best with the most amount of consumers.
Thank you. And then now moving on to habit 3. This is the one that hides in plain sight. Set it and forget it. It sounds like a feature, and customers love automation, right? But here's what actually happens on their end. Months go by without hearing from you. They half forget what they signed up for. And then one inconvenient peak event hits and they opt out. And you might never know because most attrition is invisible until your renewal numbers land. And so, what an engaged relationship actually looks like is a consistent drumbeat across the season. It's a heads up before the event, it's their individual results after, and it's a check-in at season start and season end. So, and that's not just me inventing a best practice. That's exactly what 54% of Nathan's respondents said that they wanted. Enrollment is the receipt, engagement is the relationship. And so a portfolio that's full of receipts and short on relationships has a bad renewal year coming up. And then Nathan, I'd be interested in your thoughts on this.
Yeah, you exactly said it. It's what consumers are looking for, that before and after notification. That's kind of one of the leading indicators from the data is that they want that initial outreach and then a thank you, a follow up with the results, and any type of maybe and some info moving forward, something on a next event. Any type of education that you can give during those notifications is always beneficial because those are the things that consumers are reading the most when it comes to messaging. So the consumers who want that touch point are the ones who want to stay. So even if you're just sending an email once a year, you're not saving any effort. You're quietly losing those customers that you never even knew you lost.
And then that wraps up our habits. So we are almost at your questions. But before that, Nathan and I each wanted to leave you with one thing that you could do tomorrow. So not like a 6-month transformation plan. This is one thing that is achievable tomorrow. And so my one thing is concrete enough that you could start at Monday. So take your 3 most used DR recruitment emails and rewrite the first couple sentences. So lead with what they'll actually save on their bill. Then tell them that they can override any event. Then tell them how often and how long typical events run. Move the carbon goals and grid stability language to below the fold. Your customers told the SECC that those come last to them. So that's the same team, the same channel, the same budget. It's just a different couple first sentences. And so, Nathan, I'd be interested in what your takeaway is.
Well, mine's even simpler and maybe a little bit selfish, but my takeaway would be to read the survey results from SECC's Consumer Understanding of Demand Response. As I mentioned before, this is one of our snapshot surveys, so it's only about a 25-minute read total. It's not too much of a time investment to at least see the results here and start using those to help indicate what you're going to do moving forward when messaging to consumers around these programs. Our longer form research studies are only open to members, but these smart energy snapshots are open to anyone. They are free to download. You can download them at smartenergycc.org.
Thank you. And so I wanted to give everyone the version of today that you could write on a Post-it. So the gap between interested and enrolled is real, and it's 4-to-1. And the pitch that converts leads with savings and control, not the equipment. And also the relationship that keeps people enrolled means reaching out to them before and after every event, not just at sign up. So you put all that together, and here's the takeaway I'd leave you with. You don't have a willingness problem. Your customers are ready. You don't necessarily have a generation problem. These are the cheapest megawatts that you'll find. What you have is a knowing who problem, and that problem is solvable starting this week. So two quick things before we get to your questions. The DemandPoint link is in the chat, and it's also available through the QR code that you see on the screen. First access plus a 30-minute working session with my team to run your real numbers is available. And then, as Nathan mentioned, his survey is free at smartenergycc.org. Highly recommend that you go read it. So now we're going to spend the rest of our time on you. So feel free to shoot questions into the Q&A panel. And Jessica, will you get us started?
Yes, thank you both for that. That's super interesting. And I love hearing all of the survey results. And to that point, Nathan, one of the questions that we had come in was, do you have any insight into the customers you've surveyed, mainly coastal customers, Midwest, longstanding DR programs, or new to DR programs?
It was just a national representative sample. So it's all based on the 9 U.S. Census regions. We survey a certain number of customers in each of those regions. There were a portion, we did a quick small sample boost of consumers who have already participated in a demand response program. I didn't show a slide on that today, but there was a small sample boost of 100 consumers that had participated. But the other 2,100 customers, it was just a general population sample based on US Census data. So it wasn't specific to any region.
Great, thank you. Courtney, another question that we have come in is, our regulators fund hardware programs, not marketing. How do we make the targeting investment defensible?
Gotcha. That's a real concern. So this is probably how I would frame it with a regulator. You're not asking them to fund marketing optimization. You're asking them to fund like the same enrollment and target they've already approved, just at a lower cost per customer. So if your current CAC is running higher than it needs to be because you're running spray and pray campaigns, that's money coming out of a program budget that you already have. So you're not asking for more, you're asking to get more out of what you already have. So essentially how I would reframe it is this, is it's not a marketing investment, it's an operational efficiency argument. You want to hit your enrollment numbers. So you could frame it as, here's your cost per enrolled customer today, and here's what it looks like to a more targeted approach. And typically we find that regulators and leadership respond to that type of math. They want to fund outcomes. So if you can tie the investment to the cost per outcome you already report, you have a defensible case there.
Awesome, thank you. Nathan, back to your survey, you said equipment incentives are dead last. Is that consistent across age groups, or do you think it's more generational?
We saw a little bit of differentiation between the age groups when we're talking about equipment incentives versus a cash equivalent incentive. The younger generations almost 100% of the time picked a cash equivalent. And I think when we looked at the general population sample, we were coming in around 90%. So there was a small percentage of older customers who were more had a little bit more appeal to the equipment incentives, but it was very marginally. I don't know if it was really statistically viable how small it was, but on the younger side, 100% wanted those cash incentives, and no one was interested in the equipment rebates.
Very interesting. Courtney, we have AMI, but no real targeting. Where do we start without a multi-year data warehouse project?
So that's actually a really common starting point with a lot of the utilities that we work with. So good news is you don't have to wait. So AMI data tells you a lot about behavior once someone's in a program. So, but it doesn't tell you who to go target to get them to say yes to the program. So those are two different questions. And so basically with BlastPoint, where we start is with your customer name, customer address, and rate class. We then append it with our third-party data and our proprietary data, and then we deliver that targeting targeting data that would live outside of AMI, not inside of it. So then you're not waiting on a data warehouse to be built. You then have a tool that you can use to go get the customers for those programs.
Awesome. Thank you. I think the last one that we have in here, guys, as you're listening, feel free to shoot any more questions over. But the last one that I have here is, we're a co-op without an in-house data science team. Can this work at our scale?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So with co-ops, your member relationships are generally tighter and more close-knit than what we see at IOUs. So your members already think of you differently than customers of a big IOU. So that trust is worth something when you're asking them to change a behavior. And so on the data science side, the BlastPoint platform does that work. You don't need an in-house team. What you need is someone who can act on a segment once you have those insights. And so at a co-op, there's usually someone already in members, or I'm sorry, in marketing or customer services. So the question I'd ask is, what's your current enrollment on your primary DR program? And if it's under 10 or 15%, that shows that it's likely a targeting problem, not a size problem. And so that's exactly what BlastPoint is designed to solve. So the size of your book doesn't change the methodology behind it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Nathan, we just got another one that came in that said, can you refresh us on how large your survey sample size was?
It was just under 2,100. I think it was 2,091 customers total. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, very much appreciate those questions. And then also, I just wanted to say thank you to Nathan for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And thanks to all our attendees who spent the time with us today.
All right, so here's the thing before we wrap. Here's the thing I want you to walk out with. We started this webinar with a question. Customers said yes. Are you hearing them? Well, now you've heard them. 28% are ready. They want bill credit. They want to hear from you before and after an event. So the willingness was never the problem. And from here, it's on us to act on this. So 3 calls to action. Go ahead and grab the DemandPoint link in the chat or from the QR code on the screen. That's your first access pass to it. Please read Nathan's survey. It's free. It's a 20-minute read. And then take a shot at rewriting those top 3 emails this week. So that's it. That's the whole plan. And I appreciate you guys spending your afternoon with us. So now go out and find those yeses.
Thank you.